The Star Wars saga continues with a special limited engagement of The Empire Strikes Back, starting November 19th. Empire Strikes Back, returning to your galaxy November 19th.
Billy Dee Williams, who's always been gracious with our charity work, told us about how he couldn't go anywhere after Empire Strikes Back because people would get in his face about how he betrayed Han Solo. You know, and how that, I feel, actually got a little tedious for him. The original concept for Jabba the Hutt being what it was to being what it turned out to be, you know, and different characters along the way asked to wear suits, not great. Kenny Baker was great to talk to, too, about a lot of this stuff because he was very candid. Did you meet Kenny when you were doing your thing?
I did.
Yeah.
And what a gentleman he was. You know, his sons were normal size. Mm-hmm. So they were already taller than him when they were 9, 10 years old. But he had such a great relationship with them and with everybody. I mean, mm-hmm. No one ever spoke a bad word about Kenny. He was just so affable.
Yeah.
With everyone.
Every one of those guys seemed to love they love it now too, because it's their retirement plan. They hit the convention circuit, and the guys that were the Imperial Guards are signing photos at like $25, $50 a pop. You know, they did not think that was going down when the, you know, and what is it? Morris tells the story about how he was a stormtrooper. And I was just talking about this. I also was just talking about you. I'll tell you that story in a minute, but how he's a stormtrooper in the Return of the Jedi. We've captured Luke Skywalker scene, and he's standing behind Luke, and then he's standing behind Darth Vader, because obviously Mark Kwan is like, all right, spin it around, you just stand there, no one's going to know. So he's like looking at himself in the scene, but he also told the story about how they had to keep David Prowse occupied with a fake photo shoot while they shot the Sebastian Shaw stuff. And we were making the argument that there is something about Sebastian Shaw's performance in the final moment that's very, you have a lot of empathy for. And I do make the argument that it was probably a casting call, that Shaw was brought in to deliver the final words to Luke Skywalker in a way that they didn't think Prowse could. It would just have been a different delivery, not better, not worse, but different. So there's always these interesting stories that people tell about the production that I hope your book provides a lot of insight to, you know, just the overall experience you witnessed.
Well, it was kind of divided up between the pre-production part of it, you know, the limited production, you know, when I was in London, and then post-production and the screening. You know, I kind of end with a story about a Darth Vader appearance at Cedar Sinai, which I can't talk about verbally because I'll start crying. But it was, you know, it was really just from my perspective. And I was always just trying to keep my head above water. I was just trying not to be fired, which in the end, it didn't work, at least a Lucasfilm. And I'll kind of leave that for another time too. But no, it was, you know, some of it's kind of comical. I was the one who delivered the letter to the chairman of the 20th Century Fox when George decided to let uh, Fox distribute the movie, because at that, up till then, he had, George had such a bad experience with Fox, Laddie aside, that he wasn't sure if he was going to let Fox do it, and so he gave me the letter to take to Dennis Stanfill, and I was so nervous when I got to Fox in the executive building that I went to the bathroom, and when I finished up, I went in and gave him the letter, and he kind of looked me up and down strangely and said, "Thank you very much." And I said, "Oh, you're welcome." And I left, and I got out in the hallway, and I said, "Well, what was he looking at?" And I looked down, and not only was my zipper all the way down, but my shirt tail was pulled through. And I just knew I was going to be fired. I knew it. And fortunately, Dennis Stanfield didn't make the call, and maybe he was just happy that Fox was going to get to release the movie.
Undoubtedly.
So I survived for another day.
Well, I met Ladd Jr. Too, and I say Ladd Jr. because there was a Ladd Sr.
Yes, there was.
And he said he ultimately got fired over it. The 20th Century Fox became really enraged in retrospect of the deal. And just because Lucas was able to retain all these rights, that he was able to hit a home run with things that people didn't think about then.
Merchandise and sequels.
Yeah. And it was like, how dare you let this stuff go? And of course, Ladd could point to anyone Ladd was a real visionary though, man, honestly. And Fox was lucky to have him. I mean, the decisions he made on other movies like Alien and The Omen, featuring another guy you worked with, Donner.
Young Frankenstein.
Yeah. He was exceptional in his film judgment and expertise. And it's funny how people let things fester, like, well, Lucas is making this Kenner deal with George Lucas. Why don't we get a piece of that? And they're like, well, we thought this thing was going to be a failure. So we didn't, nobody buys toys. Like Planet of the Apes came out. No one was storming the toy stores for like a Dr. Zaius.
Yeah.
They did later, but not at the time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of funny. And if you've seen Dana Gould's Dr. Zaius impression that he does about Town for Turner Classic Movies and stuff, is like talking about how RDP Jacobs cast him, and he does it all in the full Zaius. Anyway, that's a story for another day. But so getting back to this, though, we should talk about some of these people who made number one, you don't get fired for a mistake like that. I don't think. Our business is dicey, but I don't think like someone comes in and hands you a letter and there's reasons to fire someone, then there's reasons to overlook things, and that's a reason to just kind of get past it. And he was probably thrilled that the letter arrived. I mean, that was like a home run to him, right?
Yeah, and absolutely.
And Fox had experience with it. I don't think they got the rollout of the initial movie right. It was on a double bill with something that nobody cared about, right? Or what was it? The whole thing, like not the release, but the promotional approach. I forget. It was like the Other Hand of Midnight
or Star Wars. Yeah, it was The Other Side of Midnight, which was going to be their big film for the summer, and they had to take Star Wars if they wanted Other Side of Midnight. And Other Side of Midnight lasted several weeks and then moved on, and Star Wars lasted a year.
Yeah, to this day, I don't think I know anyone who's seen that movie, The Other Side of Midnight.
I've seen the first few minutes of it. I mean, it's
Against
it's a
Your Will.
Suzanne type thing. Yeah. I mean, I always wanted to see, because I love the music from it. Michelle Legrand did a beautiful score for it, but it's just not my type of movie.
Hi there, everybody. Voice actor Roger Craig Smith here to talk to you about NMOSD. It can paralyze you, it can blind you, it can even kill you in a matter of minutes, but we are very close to a cure, and with that cure could come a cure for cancer. So please go to the Guthrie Jackson Foundation and donate today. Appreciate it.